The quiet countryside seemed like the perfect escape for a group of bikers looking to blow off steam. They roared down a dusty road, loud engines echoing through the fields, their laughter and arrogance unmistakable. But their fun took a turn when they crossed paths with an unsuspecting farmer at a local roadside stand. What they didn't know was that this ordinary farmer had a past they couldn't imagine: years of elite training as a Navy SEAL. The bikers, sensing an easy target, tried to intimidate him, their antics quickly escalating. The farmer, calm and composed, stood his ground. His silence wasn't fear. It was a warning they didn't heed. What happened next would leave them stunned and scrambling. Stay tuned as this extraordinary story unfolds, proving why underestimating the wrong person can have unforgettable consequences. The farmer adjusted his wide-brimmed hat, his weathered hands steady as he loaded crates of fresh produce into the back of his truck. To the bikers, he looked like just another small-town local, quiet, unassuming, and easy to push around. They revved their engines louder, circling him like predators sizing up their prey. One of them hopped off his bike, tossing a smug grin to his buddies as he approached the farmer. "Nice truck," he sneered, tapping the hood. "Bet it's seen better days." The farmer turned slowly, his eyes calm but sharp, like he could see straight through the biker's bravado. "It gets the job done," he replied evenly. But the biker wasn't looking for a conversation. He leaned in closer, trying to rattle the man who seemed oddly unshaken. What none of them realized was that beneath the farmer's quiet exterior was a man who had faced far greater dangers, and won. The air grew tense as the bikers closed in, their confidence feeding off one another. They cracked jokes and exchanged smirks, enjoying the spectacle of their so-called intimidation. One of them picked up a small crate of apples from the truck bed, tossing it carelessly between his hands. "You don't mind, do you?" he asked mockingly, though his tone made it clear he didn't care about the answer. The farmer didn't flinch, his steady gaze making the biker pause for just a moment. "Put it back," the farmer said, his voice calm but firm. The biker chuckled, looking back at his friends. "Or what? You gonna call the sheriff?" One of the younger bikers hesitated, sensing something off about the farmer's demeanor. "Maybe we should leave," he murmured, but the others brushed him off. What none of them realized was that the farmer had been studying them just as closely, reading every movement, every weakness. He was a man who had learned patience and precision in ways they couldn't imagine, and he was ready. The biker tossed the apple into the air, catching it with an exaggerated grin. The others laughed, but the farmer's expression didn't change. He stepped forward, his boots crunching against the gravel, his movements deliberate. "Last warning," he said quietly. The calm in his voice wasn't weakness, it was control. The laughter from the bikers started to falter. There was something about the way the farmer stood, his shoulders relaxed but ready, his eyes focused and unblinking. It was a look none of them could quite place, but it made the air feel heavier. The biker holding the apple scoffed and took a bite, spitting it onto the ground. "What are you gonna do, old man?" he said, his voice trying to sound tougher than he felt. The farmer tilted his head slightly, his jaw tightening. For the first time, the bikers noticed the quiet power in his stance, like a coiled spring ready to release. The younger biker's unease grew. "Guys, seriously, let's just go," he urged, his voice shaking. But it was too late. The farmer moved suddenly, faster than anyone could react, and everything changed in an instant. The farmer's sudden movement startled the bikers, and for a brief second, none of them knew what to do. The leader stumbled back, dropping the half-eaten apple as the farmer's calm but powerful presence filled the space. The tension was electric, and for the first time, the group felt the tables turning. But just as quickly as things shifted, the roar of another engine cut through the air, A lone motorcycle appeared on the horizon, speeding toward them. The bikers exchanged uneasy glances, their bravado wavering. They weren't expecting anyone else, and the timing couldn't have been worse. The bike skidded to a stop, and a tall figure stepped off, pulling off their helmet to reveal a familiar face. The farmer's sharp gaze softened slightly, but the bikers froze. This newcomer wasn't just anyone. It was someone who knew the farmer well. The leader of the bikers tried to regain control, shouting, "Who's this now?" But the farmer didn't answer. Instead, the quiet look they exchanged hinted at something much bigger than the bikers could understand. Whatever was about to happen next wasn't going to play out the way they expected. The bikers stood frozen, the weight of the moment pressing down on them as the farmer and the newcomer exchanged a silent nod. The farmer's calm demeanor hadn't wavered, but now it carried an air of finality. The newcomer stepped forward, their presence radiating confidence. "You've picked the wrong fight," they said, their voice steady but firm. The bikers looked at each other, their earlier bravado crumbling as uncertainty set in. Before anyone could respond, the farmer took a step closer, his movements measured. "I tried to warn you," he said quietly, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd seen more than most could imagine. The leader of the bikers, still clinging to a shred of arrogance, scoffed. "We're not scared of a couple of farmers," he said, but his voice wavered. The farmer tilted his head, his calm gaze piercing. "We're not just farmers." In a swift, coordinated motion, the farmer and the newcomer moved, their precision and training unmistakable. The bikers barely had time to react before their advantage vanished. It wasn't a fight, it was a demonstration of skill, leaving no room for retaliation. As the dust settled, the bikers found themselves disarmed, both physically and emotionally. The farmer looked at them one last time, his voice steady. "Sometimes it's better to walk away." The bikers stumbled back to their bikes, defeated and shaken. But as they sped off, one of them glanced back, noticing a small tattoo on the newcomer's wrist. The same emblem etched into the farmer's old truck. It was the mark of their shared past, a quiet reminder of who they truly were. The farmer watched them leave, his expression unreadable. The newcomer smirked and said, "Still got it." The farmer chuckled softly, his focus returning to the peaceful fields around him. Some things never leave you. As the two returned to loading the truck, the sound of the distant motorcycles faded, leaving the farm quiet once again, just the way the farmer liked it. As the last biker disappeared down the road, the farmer leaned against the truck, his steady gaze now softened by the quiet. The newcomer handed him a crate of apples, a small grin on their face. "Didn't think retirement would be this exciting," they joked. The farmer chuckled, shaking his head. "It's not usually like this. Most folks know better than to start trouble around here." The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the fields. The two stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of what had happened slowly fading. "Think they'll be back?" the newcomer asked. The farmer glanced down the empty road and shrugged. "Doubt it. They learned their lesson." As the truck rumbled to life, the farm settled back into its peaceful rhythm. For the farmer, it was just another day, a reminder that strength doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes it's simply about standing your ground.